an overall gain of 8.05%. We liquidated our positions in many stocks such as Axis Bank and Kajaria Tiles, Kajaria Ceramics I would say, because we had already hit the target price and much beyond that. Week 6, well again there was a downside and all our stocks are red and our overall PNL stands to be 2.92%. Now if you just see, week 5 was 8.05 and then week 6 became 2.92. That's how the market works. And for a moment we felt that had we just liquidated our entire position in week 5 itself. And then came week 7 and we had a PNL of 4.96%. Moving on, week 9 was 6.18% and week 10 was our final liquidating week wherein the budget came out and our portfolio went up to 7.20% net of all the brokerages. This is where we closed all our positions and our portfolio stood at a gain of 7.20%. Now, at this juncture, I would like to take you all through something. Yeah. At this juncture, I would like to take you all to the next part. I'm really sorry, 1 second. So, I would like to take you all through the lessons learnt in the 10 weeks, well, the hard way. So, we worked, right? Generally, as fund managers, we work for our investors. We work for people who invest with us and we have, who give us their money with a lot of faith. But whom did we work for? Given the fact that our portfolio turnover is 241%, now portfolio turnover, I just like to explain in a few words, is the increases with the amount of churning. So the more you churn your portfolio, the more is the portfolio turnover, and the brokerage, as we see as percentage of profits, were 48%, which is really high. So we ended up learning that we perhaps worked more for the broker than ourselves. Had we not churned, now this is interesting, had we not churned, now the 7.20% would have been 18%. Secondly, benchmark. We had our benchmark, as we mentioned, to be CNX 100, but was it really our benchmark? I mean, come on, we did not look at it in considering our portfolio. We did not look at it to design, to select the stocks that we looked into. Our benchmark was full of large cap stocks, but we also considered mid cap and small cap. So basically what we did was we took the benchmark only to evaluate our results, but did not take into consideration the importance of a benchmark for an investor. When an investor invests with us, he looks into our benchmark and thinks that we are going to beat the benchmark being an active fund. But probably the biggest confusion was that what we promised to investors was a fixed return and not an alpha over the benchmark. At this point, I would just like to say that amongst the million learnings that we had, these were a few to cite. More were the intangibles which perhaps the experience teaches. And end with the quote that the fault is not in our stars. It is definitely not in the stocks we pick. Rather, it is in ourselves. Signing off, this is Neha Agarwal from Traders Drift. Thank you.
Is it week 1?
No, I'll take you to week 1. So this is week 1.
No, this is sheet 2 it says. Is it week 1?
Yes.
Okay, week 1.
You want me to zoom it?
No, it's okay, I can see. Go to week 2.
Sure.
Cumulative negative. Next week. Next. This is week 4, right? Okay.
Right.
Then. So you made the maximum cumulative profit in week 5.
Yes, sir.
Why didn't you stop it at that?
So exactly as we said, that it is very difficult to decide upon a point as to where to stop. There's no end to greed, and that, given the fact
No,
that,
no, I'm sorry. I'm not talking
Yes.
to you as a teacher. I'm talking
Yes.
to you as a person who gave you money.
yes. So given the fact,
You lost me money.
yes.
Yes.
So now the answer
I'll give you a
is,
zero.
yes, sir. So I will give you my answer. That is that in week 5, definitely had a profit and loss of 8.05%. And that in week 4 was 8.14. That is the highest that we had. But the thing is that in week 5, subsequently, it could have been that, our profit and loss would have increased further. So you never know when exactly that this is the point that you have reached your peak. Also, given the fact that our investment horizon was already 2 months, to accept the fact that our PNL is 8.14% and this is the highest that we could get was very difficult. It's not a decision of, it's not an intuitive decision. It had to be
Nobody
taken by
knows.
rational.
Nobody knows that.
Exactly.
But then you lost me money. So I'm now
Yes.
really crying.
So, but had we,
7,000 rupees you have lost roughly.
exactly. But given that, if we look at week 3, it
No,
could,
no. I'm not interested in that. Don't compare with minnows. Compare with where you did the best.
but that best happened because we surpassed the worst
No,
also.
you possibly failed to understand the underlying tone in my question. The question is, if you were to stop,
Yes.
see, you stopped at some time because Madhu stopped you because the course is over. But in reality, there is no Madhu Veera Raghavan to tell you, okay, the course is over. Unless your manager tells you, here is a pink slip. So why didn't you stop at that time?
Sir, when we were making 8.2% profit, that time we liquidated our portfolio. The maximum profits that we were getting out of Kajaria Ceramics. So we liquidated our profit, we booked profit in that stock and we sold it at 730 rupees. The stock went up to 736 and then just an hour later it came down to 700 rupees. So we actually did not lose money. We protected our money from being lost. Had we not sold it at 730 rupees, we would have sold it at 700 rupees and then we would have made a loss of 30 rupees for the 40 odd stocks that we were holding for Kajaria Ceramics.
Soumya, I'll recite Shakespearean pure poems to play with words. Now, I am talking in simple Marwadi language. You achieved 10,000. Why the hell did you not stop?
The
Is it the gambler's mentality?
no, so it's the
There is
investors.
more to it. There is more to it.
It's the investor's mentality.
Okay, you call it anything.
Sir, the investor is not supposed to stop if you've made money once. It is an ongoing process. If you stop after you make money once, then that money will only be stagnant. It will. You have to keep on iterating.
But I would have got 10,000, right?
Yes, sir, we got 10,000, but that was out of few stocks in our portfolio, right? So our entire portfolio as a whole performed because few stocks performed. It's like we have a, it's like a family of stocks wherein one person earns for the rest. So 1 or 2 people earn for the rest. But that does not mean that we stop.
Okay, I made my point, you made your point.
If I can ask the financer, did the financer give a clear objective to the fund? Was the objective to beat the benchmark or to give you a fixed return?
Neither.
So then
They-
the
they are
financer has no right to ask.
They are the
No.
experts.
Financer gave him money.
Hmm.
If the financer has given money, the financer should also give objective of the money. If the objective was laid down as one to beat the benchmark, the fund manager has no right to sway from that objective.
Why the hell didn't you say that?
I thank my mentor for this, Sandesh Kirkere sir.
No, but let me tell you, if I can add, I've had almost an hour session yesterday, after dinner actually, and they went through hell in that session, and the fact is, I'm sure there was a lot of value addition that they would have gone, because this is not how portfolio management happens. This is, and surprisingly, this is the best performing team. So clearly, it's a very fantastic initiative from the school, but the inputs perhaps that they have learned over the period and the next batch, because they didn't have much time, clearly, fund management is not speculation. Fund management is not a short-term kind of an outlook. You know, when you, in theory, we tell them that when you are buying a stock, you are becoming a part owner of the business. But the business manager is not selling it every day.
Sir,
But when you look at the entire TRPs of the CNBCs of this world, they start by talking about stop loss.
Kirkire sir, I think we should use the 10 minutes of Q&A to ask the questions rather than, deliberate and give feedback amongst ourselves. So we can give the feedback later on at the end of it. But I think we should use the time to ask the question and grade, because we have to grade as for the 10 marks, right? And just for clarification, so is the audience also allowed to ask questions and we need to grade? Okay, so I think the 10 minutes starts now. Okay. Privately. Then you have to take the account of your money, not for the competition. Okay, so a couple of questions from my side. So in the start of your presentation, you were trying to outline the investment objective in terms of your risk profile. And it was very interesting that you have kind of derived the risk of the investment based on your individual risk rather than the fund mandate or the risk that is for the objective of the fund. So can you just elaborate? I mean, I'm quite baffled as to how the objective of the fund or the investment objective in terms of risk can be defined by your risk rather than the objective of the fund.
Thank you for the question, sir. We definitely agree with you that the way we selected risk or the way we defined risk is not the way that a fund would define it. But given the fact that we were a team of 5, it was very important for us to decide upon the risk levels at a consensus amongst each other. And also for the fact that we know that if each of us has a different risk profile and we decide on a level of risk which is not similar to or not in line with, say, my risk profile. So my recommendations would not be in alignment with it. So hence, for this purpose, we thought it to be the best that if we have a risk which is a consensus amongst all of us rather than a risk for the fund.
At some point of time in your portfolio, you held a very high level of cash across the weekly portfolios that you showed. I noticed in some weeks you had a good mix of various sectors, which in some way diversified your portfolio.
Yes.
But at one week, I think it was week 5, you have a cash level of 63%
Yes,
and then
sir.
at 74% of cash level.
Yes, sir.
In my view, what was the rationale for that? Is it a very high risk you're taking? Because holding cash in a portfolio is a very huge risk. If the markets run up, you are leading into the budget week, and 2-3 weeks before that, if I understand the timing
sir.
correctly, holding 74% of your portfolio in cash, if you miss the market. So how did you justify that level of risk in your portfolio?
So markets was rallying at those point in times. So we thought we would wait and time the market. As and when the opportunities came, we utilized our cash. Because we had, as you mentioned, we had diversified investments. So, we thought that different sectors performed differently. So
Not about sectors. My question is only about cash. If you felt market was rallying, holding 74% cash, that is going to earn you 0, right? If market shoots up, you will not get the opportunity to invest into the stocks. And
So-
74% of your cash will continue earning you 0.
So,
That's
like,
my question.
Yeah, I would like clarify that all these weekly things were taken on Fridays. So fortnightly rebalancing, as we explained earlier, we used to do every fortnightly after second Friday. So on Friday we used to take a decision. So that's when we see if it has breached, like if in middle of the week if something has breached the target price, we would sell it off and take a decision on Friday on what to invest in, because we used to rebalance our portfolio on Friday. So the cash lies on Friday and we invest on that day. So when we take the weekly thing, whatever you see is the cash happens on Friday.
Also, yes, sir. Also, to add to the point, for that particular week that you mentioned, I would like to say that it was on Thursday that we actually sold our stocks. So it was only for that day of the week, on Friday, that we had so much of cash. We further invested, put our money back into the markets on Monday.
Hi. You had a slide on stock selection criteria. Just give an example of any one company, maybe a Kajaria, you made a good money. So what was your investment rationale or hypothesis or the investment approach before investing in any of the company? Take any one company which you like. And whether you stuck to your investment stock selection criteria vis-a-vis the investment process. I mean the investment process. Basically.
Yes. So one of the stocks that made high profits for us was Lupin Pharma. Lupin. So first we came down to the industry. Lupin was figuring in the top 70 stocks. Then we divide the stocks into industries, category-wise industries. We took pharma industry because it is a moderate risk. It's a low risk industry. Pharma and FMCG low risk industries. Even if the markets are, even the economy is not performing well, pharma will perform well because it is independent of the economies per se. So we came down to pharma. We had certain understanding of the industry.
So what all industries you had identified?
We had identified pharma, auto ancillaries, and ceramic tiles and cements.
Was there any negative list for industry?
And banking. Huh?
Any negative list you had? Okay, we will not invest in this industry.
We took IT. We did not invest in IT because that time the currency fluctuations were very high, and we thought that the quarterly results would be out, and the quarterly results would be out, and the revenue would be understated because the depreciation of the currency would cause that. So we took.
Just a second, just a follow-up from Dhaval's question. So was the industry selection a derivative or a result of the 70 stocks that were filtered out and
Yes,
the
sir.
industry mapping thereabout, or
Yes,
it was
sir.
a top-down conscious decision of selecting the industry?
No, the 70 stocks.
So it was
Yes.
a derivation
Derivative.
of the
Yes, sir.
70 stock filter
Yes,
rather
sir.
than a conscious choice of industry.
Yes, sir.
And along with what you are answering to Dhaval,
So after categorizing the industries, after that was a conscious choice as to we will not invest in it.
yeah, that's
in
okay,
IT.
but the industry came because of those
because of the
70
70 stocks, yes, sir.
And how did you rank the 500 stocks in terms of PEG ratio, as you had mentioned, considering the fact that more than 300 stocks would not have any estimates even in the Bloomberg of the earnings or the growth? So how were you able to rank the 500 stocks, as you mentioned, in the CNX 500 or BSE 500 in terms of PEG ratio?
So we had various filters before coming to the PEG ratio. So maximum of them got out of 500, we had approximately 890 or something, which was left after when we have to see the PEG. And PEG was something which we saw as a sorting thing. So we considered only the stocks which were having PEG less than 2%.
As far as my understanding concerned, the investment philosophy that you laid down was only PEG rather than anything else. Anyway.
Next one, Bloomberg.
Factors that you were looking for. So, are we talking about the previous quarter's earnings results? Was it based on that, or were you factoring in the earnings number, or I mean your view about the upcoming earnings?
So we took into consideration both. So using Bloomberg as a tool, what we had was an average estimated earnings for every stock by the analysts. Okay, and we also had what was the expectations in the previous quarter and whether the company had met it or not. We had the graphs with us, and accordingly we saw that which is the company which has a history of beating the estimates.
Okay.
So, which has a history of basically, creating a surprise element, especially for that quarter, because there were companies which had this tendency for third quarter. Like for example, Wonderla was one of them.
Okay, okay.
So it was quarter and quarter as well as previous quarters of last year's and yearly also. So we made sure that year-wise and quarter-wise both.
Okay. Great. The other thing I wanted to understand was, whatever performance that you've achieved, what were the catalysts or what were the factors you think that contributed, especially in week 5, where you had such a huge profits? So what were the catalysts you were looking for initially, right, when you made the investment decision? And secondly, what do you think actually contributed to your performance over the last 2 months?
So surprise element, as we previously told you, was one of the factors that we considered. Now, given the fact that ours was, the investment started in January, we were expecting Q3 results to come out. And we especially, the companies that we looked into, we had a very positive view on the quarterly results. And it did pay off, because one of the highest returns that we got was from Kajaria and Axis Bank and Lupin. Then later on, L&T and Ultratech. But earlier, these three stocks gave us results after the quarter results came out, and they were very positive on them. So the stocks moved up. Moving further to the next set of stocks, we had L&T and Ultratech performing really well after the budget. Just 2 days, those 2 days, and within a span of 4 to 5 days during the budget time, because there was a lot of positive expectation from the capital goods segment. So we took into consideration the various macros and what is the expectation, general expectation from the market.
So to add to that, we had guidance given by the CEOs at the beginning of the fiscal year. So we tracked their first 6 months performance. So companies which did not have good earnings but which promised a second half yearly better performance, that also boosted the earnings in the second half.
To come back to Dhaval sir's question, so we came down on Lupin, we came down on the industry. After that, we put in industry-specific filters. The industry-specific filter that I remember putting for pharma was the number of patents and the number of trademarks that the company has. So under filings, number of patents for pharma, the most prominent company that came into picture was Lupin. Plus, it was the only company in the pharma industry that had continuously bet the analyst expectations. The earnings surprise element was very, very high for Lupin. After that, when we selected, we looked into the fundamentals of the company, the number of patents that it has, the geographic locations where all the offices are, what are the maximum revenue generating product lines, is it a particular product or is it a wide variety of products? And then after that, when we decided to liquidate, it was the time when there was a news on currency depreciation, yen fluctuating, and maximum revenue for pharma, for Lupin comes from Japan, around 12 to 13% comes from Japan, and that was the time when currency yen was fluctuating a lot. That was the time when it also hit its target price and we decided to sell it. So that was the...
Just to quote one more example of L&T, so like the Indian government has been talking about Make in India campaign. Okay, so thank you, the time's up, so we would like to end our presentation over here.
I would just like to mention special thanks to our mentor, Mr. Sandesh Kirkire, for his guidance and support. So thank you so much. We had a really wonderful and insightful session with you. Thank you.
Thank you, team Traders Drift. We request you to be seated. Next, we have Team Mast. Fund manager is Vineet Jain, and the presenter for today is Vineet Jain. Sorry, Girish Hemnani. I'm so sorry. Please give them a huge round of applause.
Good evening, everyone. When it comes to investing, nothing will pay off more than educating yourself. Initially, when this course was started and we were formed as a team, we were thinking about what name should we keep. We came up with the name as Money and It's Sold Together. And fortunately, came as Mast. Let me begin the presentation with introduction of the team Mast. I am Girish Hemnani, and I am the strategic analyst of the team. Introducing Vineet Jain, he is the portfolio manager of our team. Lavanya, who is the risk analyst. Sunil Somani, who is the trade executioner and one of the trading specialists, we would say. Anudeep Reddy is the equity research analyst. Today's agenda would be basically, we will be taking you through the investment rationale, investment philosophy, the risk profile of the team and risk profile of individuals, sector selection criteria, moving on to sector overview and stock selection criteria, finally the fund performance. And if we get time, we would go through what we had done with each stocks every week. So our investment rationale is basically, we discussed a lot before coming to this investment rationale, a common investment rationale, and everyone came up with their own thinking. Finally, we laid down the foundation of our investment. We would look for attractive returns with reduced volatility. And this is the base foundation of our team, which says that we will be going only on reduced volatility. And that is one of the reasons why